We say it every Wednesday, and we love saying it every Wednesday. Good evening to you, one and all. West Province Sports and GT Masters tonight from the Nurembergring and the Honda HTP. As always, joining me in the studio, the voice of West Province Motorsport, the man that's going to be doing Killarn International Raceway karting on Saturday, and that is my good friend Frankie Yennis. Frankie, good evening to you.
Yes, good evening, and everybody at home. Yes, we are on the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, and today is something different as the iRacing Master Series ended 2 weeks ago. Mr. Luke Lucchese decided, well, let's do a fun race tonight before he sets up the following Masters. And tonight at the Nürburgring, in the Honda HTP, we've got the Masters, which is drivers 40 and older, and the drivers younger than 40 all together for a fun race. And there's more than 25 cars that's going to be taking part, combination of under 40s and over 40s Masters, and as they sometimes tend to call the under 40s elites, but there's a lot of elites in the Masters as well, if you know what I'm getting at. So with a minute and 44 done, we see Luke Lucchese, the man that I just spoke about on track, who is the brainchild behind today's fun race, if you can call it that. Herman Lazarus from cheapercars.co.za out. 2 minutes done, Gaza, and Graham Stephen is also out there on circuit.
Yep, there's Luke King and a lovely livery on that motor car. Sandro Bakari, the man that helped Mike Verrier for a long period of time and then also actually ran the whole league for a period of time as well. Swayze Hubert, one of the very well-known Hubert families. The Super Buster from Cape Town, Impini Motors. It's the first time we've actually seen his own company name on one of his iRacing cars, Impini Motors. We did see Luke Lucchese earlier on. He likes that red color, the Ferrari color. I see he's got the number 1 on that motor car. Sporting the Golf colors, JJ van der Merwe, and then Eugene Minuk out there as well.
Yeah, he's got the Arrow McLaren colors on that car, has Eugene. Corne Breed out on the circuit as well there with the JPS and Olympus. Then Pieter Hubert sporting the DHL color scheme on that Honda of his. Then the first of the 2 Castrol cars out on track. This is Willem Pina, the man that's based in the UK and Ireland. And then Robbie Teams, the Boltman, out there in that Honda of his.
Some of the favorite colors with the louder cars on the side. Peter van der Spey, Captain Peter van der Spey, Raymond Duggan out there as well. The success story of 2022. Willem Botha also out there. He's got his favorite sign writing on the motor car and representing the company that he works for.
Yeah, that is Willem Botha. So the times are now beginning to come through as the qualifying stint is nearly 4 minutes old, 10 minutes to go, and Luke Lucchese 143.851 was on pole position because it's now a Familiaris with a 143.814.
And then Byron Mitchell comes onto the second. Leighton Fourie, welcome. Leighton climbs onto the second row of the grid. Provisionally, we were there with Byron Mitchell. That means Umpi Swart's got to go around once more. He cannot start on the third row of the grid. He doesn't know how to start on the third row of the grid unless it is an inverted grid. Speaking of which, 2 half-hour races today, and the second race will be with the top 12 being inverted. Willem Botha right now in the top 6 from, having said that, Luke King now rounds out the top 6.
Yeah, and keeping in mind 2 30-minute races, and in each race there will be a compulsory pit stop. So that's going to make it even more interesting, or so we were told earlier on today. There's Tristan de Nobrega in the G-Force Honda, busy working his way around, currently there in P9, 1.1 off Familiaris. So JJ van der Merwe sitting there in 11th, 1.3 off Familiaris' time. just outside of the top 10. He's the first car out of the top 10. Then Graham Stephen in that 12th position in the 25 car, and he's 1.4 seconds off the provisional pole sitter.
Ooh, Luke King comes into the game as well. He drops in 9th position. Francois Hubert. Good evening, Francois Hubert. He's always there and thereabouts. So let's have a quick look at that top lineup so far. Front row of the grid, Julian from the RS and Umpi Swart. I almost said Luke Lucchese.
Yeah, Luke is in P4 now, as Leighton Fourie puts that number 11 car of his in P1 with a 143.354, and Julian had it there for a while. He sits now in P2, a 10th of a second off Leighton Fourie, and Yuri and Luke so far on the second row of the grid.
So Tristan Dobrik and that man Willem Botha find themselves on the 4th row of the grid. And there we go. Luke King pops up and he says, hello, Byron Mitchell. Can I stand alongside you on the grid? And they are all the front 9 within a second of one another.
Well, 23 cars have posted some form of a time so far. Luke King in that 24, 6/10 of a second off Leighton Fourie. As a matter of fact, the first make it 10 cars are roundabout in a second of each other.
Wow. Robbie Ting's still quite a long way down. I'm sure he's got one more. Oh, that's not going to bode well for him. Robbie Ting's getting himself into a spin. That is probably his second flying lap that he was on, which means that Robbie will find himself in that 20th position. I don't see there's any way that he can, in fact, improve on that. Troy Dolenchik, who's now out on circuit, Swayze Hubert, John Weiss and Eugene Manouk, the guys that have not got to put in a time yet. Troy Dolenchik's just done his first flyer, and that's where he finds himself, 3rd row of the grid. I wouldn't be surprised if he moves himself further forward. But for now, it's Julian from the RS alongside Leighton Fourie, Umpi Swart alongside Luke Lucchese, Byron Mitchell alongside Troy Dolenchik, that is on his second lap. In fact, all of those guys that I just mentioned now are still out on circuit. There's Julian, there's Leighton, there's Umpi, there's Luke, there's Byron, there's Troy. And then, in fact, Luke King is still out on circuit. Let's see what kind of time he puts up. He was 0.7 outside of the fastest lap time. Can the frequent flyer get any quicker? Nope, it doesn't look like it. In fact, that lap that he did now did not count, so he must have had an off-circuit somewhere. Jason Kutsia finds himself in the pit lane. I think Jason's probably then done both of his fastest laps. Julian from the RS still on the front row of the grid with... 45 thousandths of a second between Leighton Fourie and Julian from the RS.
So that is King busy working his way around, 7/10 of a second off for Miliaris. That's put it back there in pole position again, and he's 400ths of a second quicker than Leighton Fourie. So it's all going to happen out there. There's Herman Lazarus in 21st position, 2.2 seconds off Julian. There's a minute to go before the qualifying stint is done, and Herman's done a personal best of a 144.898 in that 16th position. Here comes Yuri Swart working his way around, but I think he's also completed his session.
Leighton Fourie, he's also just completed his session, but he's just swapped places on the front row of the grid with Julian from the RS, a 10th quicker than Julian from the RS. 9 minutes 31 of the 10 minutes that's gone. Who is still out there on circuit? Well, I do believe Willem Botha. Yep, there's Willem Botha. He's just idling around, so he's not going to be able to put up another time. Luke King, yep, he's going to make it across the line just at the end of the session. Nope, he realizes his time is not going to be any quicker, so
no, it
he
does.
backs
Goes
up
up to
that.
P4, Gary.
Wow.
He's jumped
Luke
up,
King.
143.788.
Pity Bear is not going to make it to the line in time, unfortunately, so taking the DHL car around, and that closes off our 10 minutes. Let's have a look at that grid.
Well, this is going to be technical, to say the least. Leighton Fourie, Julian Familiaris, Yuri Swart, and Luke King. That is the first 2 rows of the grid, followed by Umpi's Alai, Luke Lucchesi, Troy Dolacek, Willem Botha, Byron Mitchell, Francois Hubert, and Tristan de Nobrega. That's the first 10 positions.
Jason Coetzee from Chase Herald, Pieter Hubert, JJ van der Merwe, Graham Stephen, Peter van der Spey, Herman Lazarus, Timothy Stanton, Raymond Duggan, and Corne Breert. That rounds out the top 20.
Then Sandra Bakari, Robbie Teens, Leonardo Bakari, Willem Pina, John Tivai, Swais Hubert, and in 27th position is Eugene Manuk.
Wow. All I can say is wow. Frankie, I think we're on for one hell of a race.
I think so. Remember, it's only a half an hour, and then we have a little breather, and then another half an hour, and there will be 2 compulsory pit stops, one in the first half an hour, and the other one for the second half an hour race.
With the second half an hour race comes the top 12 invert. So you come 13th, you start in 13th in the second race. You come 12th, you start in pole position. But what a fantastic front row. Leighton Fourie, Julian from the RS, Umpi Swart, Luke King. Oh, any of that 4 can win. Go one step further. Luke Lucchesi, Troy Dolacek. How do you bet against the Luke Lucchesis and Troy Dolaceks of this world?
Well, I see Luke King and Jonty Weiss have not gridded yet. As a matter of fact, Leighton pops up. Luke King is there.
Jonty Weiss is the only one.
Jonty Weiss we're still waiting for.
Yeah, he would have been in, or he will, if he makes it in time. See, 1 minute 57. I think it's probably going to be a 2 minute will be the cutoff.
Nope.
Yep, 2 minutes is the cutoff, and off they go. And Jonty Weiss, if he does get in, will have to start, I think, from the pit lane because he has still not linked up onto the server. Oh, this is going to be good.
Well, let's hope that he doesn't have electricity issues, Jonty Weiss. That kicked him out before he's even got underway. That would be sad, should that be the case. Let's hope it's something different and not that. Otherwise, it would be so unfair to him. So, let's have a look and see. This is the Nürburgring. This is the Grand Prix circuit. And they've done Formula 1 on this track on numerous occasions. Right, the safety car is in. We're down the home straight. And we are going green for half an hour as they drop the hammers and away they go. As they storm down into that right-hander. It's a very difficult right-hander. It's a hairpin. And already we've got trouble at the mid-pack that's causing drama towards the back of the field. And they're smashing into each other. And it's a Leighton Fourie from Luke Lucchesi and Julian Familiaris. They are the first 3 with Dolacek and Swart. That is chopping and changing positions.
Yeah, look at that pack of cars that's coming out there. Crazy stuff. Well, we expected there was going to be a bit of chaos right at the beginning, and it is exactly what did happen there to us. So let's see if we can pick up that battle box as well. Swais Hubert was one of the biggest losers initially with that. Let's go to the front end of the field. It's Leighton Fourie, and he leads out for the young guns. But the old man of the show, Luke Lucchesi, he is right in there with them. Julian from the RS directly behind that. Then it's Umpi Swart. He's already up into that top 4. Behind that is Troy Dolacek, the freaking flyer from karting in Cape Town and in Westchem, former the 1600 Rookie of the Year last year, and doing a brilliant job. Maybe on his way to even win it this year. With behind him is going to be Luke King. But just look how they stretched out.
Now we see there Willem Botha for Toyota Gazoo Racing and Race Driver SA Esports sitting there in that 9th position. That's Willem going through your shot there. Then we have a look at Tristan de Nobrega. De Nobrega is sitting there in that 6th position. Leighton Fourie is the quickest man out there with a 144. Replay here at Yuri Umpi Swart getting it wrong and losing the circuit, and Umpi has dropped all the way down that leaderboard. Trying to pick him up on the leaderboard. As a matter of fact, I don't see him in the top 10. He's in P11, just outside the top 10 behind Jason Coetzee.
Sure. Well, what a race of attrition this one's going to be. So let's pick up wares of those closest battles. Chase Herald just 0.2 of Luke King, and let's go on board and see what it looks like when you're riding in this high-speed train.
Well, that's the Honda HDP of Chase Herald that we're riding on board with, and Chasey is in this train that's sitting behind the Nobriga. So the train driver is doing it again. The Nobriga and P5 has got them all racked and stacked in there behind him. He's got Mitchell, Buerta, King, Herald, Kutsia and Swart right on his case, and that is Chasey we're riding on board with, and right ahead of him is Luke King.
And right behind him is Jason Goodseer and the recovering Umpi Swart.
Yeah, Umpi's still there in that 11th position, 1.5 ahead of Sandro Bakari. And there is Chase Herald busy working his way around. How do you get through here? All these cars are exactly the same. It's all about your setup. And are you willing to take a gap, take a chance? And how good are you behind your sim rig? That's going to get you to the business end of the field. There's Graham Stephen sitting in that 16th position. And they all chasing down Sandro Bakari. That is Francois Hubert, Hammer, Lazarus, Stanton, Stephen and Duggan. But we go back there to Dolacek. That sits in that 4th position. And he is right on the case of Familiaris, who is about 1.7 behind. No, he's only 0.4 of a second behind Lucchesi. And Dolacek sawing away at that steering wheel as he's got missile lock there on Familiaris.
Well, look at this one. This is Tristan Nobriga and Byron Mitchell. They've actually swapped positions. I saw it twice on the leaderboard that they actually swapped positions as we ride on board with Tristan Nobriga. That's what it looks like going forward, and that's what it looks like from the back.
Yeah, he's looking back into the eyeballs there of Willem Buerta. That sits in that 7th position. Ahead of Tristan is Byron Mitchell. And those are the two cars that stacked in there behind him. It is Buerta and Herald that is in there just behind the Nobriga. And they are very, very, very close. As a matter of fact, Luke Lucchesi is 1.9 behind Leighton Fourie. And then we go all the way down to Mitchell. And it's all virtually yellow and orange numbers up until King, because he's 2.5 seconds ahead of Sandro Bakari.
I suppose we must actually show you the guy that's leading this race, because we haven't seen him. His name's Leighton Fourie. He's up, dusted and disappeared.
Yeah, he's got the Audi Sport colours on that Honda HDP of his as they work their way around. He's 2 seconds ahead of Luke Lucchesi. That's got Julian Familiaris and Troy Dolacek right on his case. Have a look at this train coming through there. That is Dolacek, Mitchell, the Nobriga, Buerta, Herald, Kutsia, and Yuri Swart has got his nose ahead there. Luke King, and there's contact. There's contact, and Jason Kutsia is one of the victims in that situation.
Luke King and Umpi Swart just swapped positions. Let's see if we can pick up exactly what happened there. I think that was Umpi that made the move. Oh, that one's a bit of a long shot. We won't be able to pick it up from there.
Yes, I've just picked it up. We actually went through, and there's more drama out there. Oh my goodness. It is chaos out there, and they're just smashing into each other. There's drivers all over the place. Luke King is one of them. The DHL car's in trouble. They're all in trouble. Luke King's dropping down the leaderboard. Oh my word. It's just organized chaos out there at this point in time.
Yeah, that wasn't too good. Let's see what had started off there. I think it was Peter van der Spey. All was going quite fine with a louder car's entry, and yeah, he arrived on the scene and tried to get away from everybody that was already involved with that one. The next man that came in there was in fact Sandro Bakari, also had nowhere to go, and he just ended up piling into the back end of that lot. Eugene Manouk also got involved with that in some format as well, as he came down towards it. Obviously comes around the corner, and well, there all of a sudden there's a slow car in front of him, and that's as far as that one was going to go. Remember, it's a half an hour race. It's being led out by that man, Leighton Ferry, and Troy Dolenchik has just put up the fastest lap time so far.
Well, a lot of the drivers that were involved in that are sitting round about P17 down. Sandra Bakari, Peter van der Spey, Luke King, Graham Stephen, Timothy Stanton, Willem Pienaar. All those guys were involved in that situation that happened a bit earlier on. But it's all about Leighton Ferry, 2.1 ahead of Luke Lucchesi, and right behind him is Julian Familiaris and the Sujin outfit of Troy Dolenchik that sits there in that fourth position. Right on the case there are Familiaris, and the two of them are 5.5 seconds ahead of De Nobrega.
So we're already 8 minutes into the session, and we've done 5 laps already in this race, and total chaos it has been. Luke Lucchesi with a bit of a gap between himself and Leighton Ferry, but right on his back bumper, Julian Familiaris. That's the car that you see directly in front of Troy Dolenchik, who we are riding on board with. So if we go just a little bit further back from that, the train driver, Tristan De Nobrega, icon for train behind him. He is fast, he is on the go, he's on the move, he's in 5th position, and he is holding out on a Willem Botha that's battling to get within a second of him.
Yeah, now just within a second is Willem Botha, then just behind them in P7, 1.5, that is a Chasey Herald. Here's a replay of Durant Motorsports, Umpi Swart from Umpidi Motors, just losing the tail end of that Honda of his, and it's not going well for Umpi so far. You see Herman Lazarus come past him, and I think the other one was Francois Hubert, I think.
It's possible,
yes. Yes, it is Francois Hubert. He's in P10.
So we got as far as Willem Botha. There is Willem Botha, and in behind him is the young man Chase Herald. There's Chase Herald. Then Byron Mitchell. Francois Hubert just out of shot. There comes Francois Hubert, and as you said, yep, he is the man that went past, and just ahead there of Umpi Swart. So I wouldn't be surprised if Umpi Swart and Francois Hubert close up on the back end of the frequent flyers. But then again, Francois Hubert 6 seconds off the back of Byron Mitchell. I don't know if he can make up that amount of time.
No, then he's still going to try and keep Umpi behind him. We say in P11 only one Lazarus, and the recovering Jason Kutsia, that's in P13. He's just over a second behind Lazarus. Then Robbie Teens coming through, and then Corne Briat is right on his case of the Flying Gypsies. Peter Hubert, he was one of those drivers in the DHL car that was involved in that situation earlier on. So was this man, Sandro Bakari, and the man behind him, Peter van der Spey, in the Lauda Cars outfit, together with Graham Stephen and the man behind him, namely Timothy Stanton.
Yep, the next man coming through the Rowley Stanton's son, Timothy Stanton, with the Roland's Manifold sponsored car, as he works his way through there. And well, there's a long way back then to Willem Pienaar. Of Willem Pienaar, 9 seconds further back is a Swayze Hubert. Action at the front end of the field. Troy Dolenchik, oh, look at this one, having a look on around the outside of a Luke Lucchesi, and it goes through. Well, Luke Lucchesi must have made a mistake somewhere.
No, well, he was in second place, and I think he was just mugged there by Familiaris and Dolenchik, and there wasn't a damn thing he could do. They just muscled their way through into second and third, dumping him down into P4. But he's right there with him. He's right on the case of the two of them. He goes a touch wide,
yeah,
and then they just mug him from there, and not a damn thing he could do but to give up that second and that third position.
Well, if you think about it, it was such a small mistake that he actually made, and well, they just took advantage of it and just bombed past him. So it's lap 7 that we are on now. We are 12 minutes into it of the 30-minute race. So 15 minutes would be halfway through. No pit stops. Well, no pit stops been done because you need to. These pit stops have been done because you have to. So none of the leaders have been into the pits yet.
Yeah, but those have to pit stops still got to come. That's for sure. And look at Dolenchik. Dolacek is actually losing ground to Familiaris. He's now in the clutches there of Luke Lucchesi as they head into turn one. This is a difficult. It's a right-hander, then it backtracks all in itself. It does a bit of a circle, and then from there they race down to that hairpin. It's first a little chicane called the Ford curve, and then from there they go down to that Dunlop hairpin. So there's the Nobrega in P5. Willem Botha 5/10 of a second behind him, and looming in there behind them, only 1.3, is Chase Herald, and he's got Byron Mitchell there with him for company.
Been a long way back to get to Francois Joubert. Remember, we said earlier on 6 seconds between Francois Joubert and Byron Mitchell, and I placed some doubt on whether he can close that gap. And for all now, with Umpi Swart in there behind him, and Umpi Swart's been within a half a second of him ever since he recovered. And I think Francois is going to have to be tentative to keep Umpi Swart behind him, and then at the same time try not to lose out to Byron Mitchell. Now, Byron Mitchell, is he being held up by Chase Herald, or is he just following through on Chase Herald? I don't think Chase Herald is slowing him up at all. In fact, I think he might be gaining a little bit of a slipstream from Chase Herald. But can Byron Mitchell take that 0.6 of a second and make it close enough that he can maybe jump the position when they go to the pit stops?
Yeah, I remember that Chase is chasing down, excuse the pun, Willem Botha. That's just there ahead of him. There's Byron Mitchell of Dolphin Engineering and Durant Motorsport. And there is Umpi still right on the heels there of Francois Joubert. They're fighting it out there for that 9th position. Raymond Duggan is 3.3 seconds behind Francois and Yuri. Here comes Duggan. And then only 1.6 behind him for Durant Motorsport is Jason Coetzee.
Oh, Jason's battled to get himself so far into the top 10. A lovely drive once again by Herman Lazarus, the man from cheapercars.co.za. Peter Joubert, here he comes down into that tight right-hander, drops downhill. You've got to use, oopsie, I was going to say you've got to use quite a bit of the circuit, but I think the people that went through there, that was Peter van der Spey and Herman Lazarus, I think, that got themselves a little bit knotted up. Let's just have another look at that one. We saw it on the edge of the screen. Peter van der Spey closing up pretty nicely, trying to have a look up on the inside. Oh, Peter van der Spey had a look up with the louder cars entry on the inside line. Eventually he had to turn in to make sure there was no contact, and that got the tail end wagging, and that brought it around. Byron Mitchell still looking pretty good, but he hasn't got an answer for Chase Herald. He's got to him, but how do you get past him?
Yeah, Chase, well, don't put the wheels on the dirt there, Chasey, because then he's going to nail you, that's for sure. Byron Mitchell sitting right on his case there as they busy work their way around. There is Umpi, and he still hasn't got his nose ahead of Francois Joubert. Francois still sitting in that 9th position, and he's keeping Chase at bay. So now we've done almost 16 minutes. Surely the compulsory stops must happen now as he runs a bit wide. Does Francois Joubert. They side by side down the main straight, and I'm almost certain that Umpi is going to get him, and they're chopping and changing, and yes, Umpi's got his nose into P9.
Can the cutback work? No, it doesn't. Umpi's gotten past. And, well, we were having a look at the Herman Lazarus passing maneuver there at the same time to try and pick up on that one. So Byron Mitchell still on the tail end of Chase Herald. Francois Joubert now on the back end of Umpi Swart. But now remember, Francois Joubert was 6 seconds, 6.5 off the back of Byron Mitchell. That fight has now created the turnaround where it's now 7 seconds behind Byron Mitchell. I don't believe he's going to be able to catch.
Well, if you go to the sharp end of the field, well, let's first stick with this one, because Chase Herald's now coming under severe attack here from Byron Mitchell. There's a 1/10 of a second splitting these two for P7 and 8 at this point in time. Surely he must have a go now. Byron is side by side. He's going to try and drive around him on the outside, and he has done it, because the outside line now becomes the inside line for the right-hander. Well done there to Byron, moving up to P7.
Jason Coetzee also having a look there on the back end of Raymond Duggan. He's closed up from quite a long way out, and I think that he might be able to get to the passing maneuver in the not too distant future. We are 11 laps in 17 minutes. Surely they're going to start peeling in. Are you having fun? Yeah, we. Oh no! Contact, and they both end up going off. Jason Coetzee and Raymond Duggan, they were just having so much fun. They were waving to one another as they passed one another, and it all turned to tears. Francois Hubert is having a look up on the inside as well of Oompie Swart, and it looks like he's going to make it stick. Oompie will go for the cutback, there's no doubt about that. Can he? No, he can't. Francois Hubert's got the line.
Well, they mustn't lean on each other, otherwise we're going to have troubles out there. We could have a situation we just saw there between Coetzee and Duggan. But yes, Francois got his nose back ahead there of Yuri Jr. again, and attempting to pull away. Pieter Hubert, on the other hand, is right on the case there of Robbie Teens. There's 0.4 of a second between them, and right there with him as well is Herman Lazarus, and 2 seconds behind them is Sandro Bakari. So this one isn't done yet, because only 1.3 behind Bakari is Peter van der Spy. So this midfield dice could still heat up with almost 19 minutes done.
So Oompie Swart behind Francois Hubert, having passed Francois Hubert and then been mugged and passed once again. Oompie Swart finds himself back where he started, and it's just not working out for him at this stage of the fight, because he doesn't have an answer for Francois Hubert. And while he doesn't have an answer for Francois Hubert, Chase Herald's got an open ground behind him to try and go in search of Byron Mitchell. But still, 19 minutes in, and all the top boys have not gone into the pits. Let's go and have a look-see. Who has done their pit stops? Who has not? Everybody down to 18th position. Can you imagine? Once the first one dives into the pits, from there on out, it's going to be mayhem and chaos in the pit lane.
Well, Pieter Hubert moves up there on the inside and makes a move stick there on Robbie Teens. Now it's Herman Lazarus' turn, and he gets his nose ahead of Robbie Teens as well as they work their way down the home straight.
Yeah, the thing was Robbie Teens went into the pits. That's why he got past. So let's see, where's... Remember that guy called Leighton Ferree? He's the one that up-dusted and disappeared at the front end of the pack. He, in fact, has been leading from the first corner. And, well, he's just getting away from everybody. That's Jason Coetzee, that is now lapped, that is there behind him. And then the next one being Julian Familiares. It cannot be long before they're going to go into the pits.
Yeah, Willem Pienaar and JJ van der Merwe will be his next victims, but they still somewhat down the road. But surely with 20 minutes done, we're going to have to see the routine pit stops take place. Oompie catching back up there onto Francois Hubert. There's almost 0.4 of a second between the two of them, fighting it out for that 9th position. There's Dolacek in P3, and he's crowding the back end of the Familiaris outfit. No, they don't go into the pits. The two of them circulate all the way around, does Julian and Troy Dolacek. And that's the one I was talking about. Oompie Swart right on the case there of Francois Hubert. It's now just over 1/10 of a second.
I'm going to make a blatant assumption here. Oh, there we go. Oompie Swart. And a Chase Herald's gone in as well. Let's see, is a Chase... We'll try and pick that one up. Yep, it's behind the wall. But that is, in fact, Chase Herald that's gone into the pits as well. Yep, there he is. I'm going to think that knowing the man that put this whole lot together, there comes Oompie as well, that you've got a situation to try and give everybody the bestest possible chance. You cannot do the full 30 minutes, but you can probably do almost the full 30 minutes, which means if you have a mess up in the beginning of your race, you can then get yourself into a situation where you can go into the pits early, and then you can come out and you can make it all the way to the end of the race. And I think that is the way that this one has been put together.
A lot more cars coming in there. Peter van der Spy is in, Raymond Duggan is in, Sandro Bakari is in. So they are now beginning to work their way in as Chase Herald works his way out, back out onto the circuit. But those first 12 cars they still need to make a pit stop with 22 minutes done.
Well, the leading man is that man in terms of people that have done their pit stop already, Umpi Swart. But if you take the time gaps above him, there is no ways that he will be able to jump all of those people before they come back out of the pits again. Here comes Troy Dolenchik into the pits.
Leighton Fourie is in. Sorry, Gary. So is Familiaris, and as you said, Dolenchik.
Yo, they came in there so hard and loud, and look, Lekezi follows them in as well. What does Tristan Nobriga do? Tristan comes through as well, and then I think it's Willem Botha behind him. Yes, Byron Mitchell is coming through as well. Francois Hubert, he's coming in as well. Billy Hubert, he's coming up to that dive-in point now. I think it's a matter of time as he goes around the right-hander. I can't see that he'll go any further either. You'll probably find that he's going to come straight into the pits. And then let's have a look. Leighton Fourie comes out of the pit exit. Here is the next lot. It's Julian from the RS and Dolenchik still in that third position. Luke Lekezi is out on circuit as well. There he comes out. Tristan de Nobriga, the train driver, he makes it out of the pit just ahead of Willem Botha. The next man going to come out there is going to be Byron Mitchell. Then who's out next? It's Francois Hubert. So they haven't changed that much in terms of position. Herman Lazarus on his way into the pits. So with just 6.5 minutes to go, look how it's turned around up front.
Well, I was watching a Peter Hubert in the DHL car. He did not pit, so he sits now in P6, and he's 0.8 of a second behind De Nobriga so far. And as we were watching the cars come out the pits, or as Gary was doing so, I was watching his number going down the home straight, and he just leapfrogged everybody, which means that Peter Hubert is happy for now, but he ain't going to be all that happy the moment he has to pit. And he's going to have to pit because he's got, 6 minutes to go before we see the checkered flag.
Yeah, there's no doubt he's going to have to do that.
I'll make it 5, Gary, because I see it's a 29-minute race, not a 30-minute.
Yeah, I don't know where the 29 comes from. Maybe it's 20. Hello, son. Can you get out of my way? Well, in fact, that is Sir Willem Pienaar that's in front of you, young man. Oh, no, the leader. Leighton, can you believe it? Oh, Troy is involved in that one as well. Oh.
Well, that's going to turn ugly very, very quickly. Leighton Fourie says, well, it doesn't matter. I cannot, I think he just hit a quick fix button there because he's on his way. Let's have a look and see here. This is Leighton Fourie. Well, he flashed his lights at Pienaar and then made contact with Pienaar, and then he just got creamed by all of the top guys as Luke Lekezi just makes his way. Yep, a quick fix button, and the 11 car is going once again.
There was Troy Dolenchik doing a nosedive. Oh, and a pirouette. So a little bit of theatricals that's going down there. So let's try again with the all of a sudden change. Oh, Peter Hubert, remember that was the one that had not been in the yellow DHL car, and he works his way out. So Julian from the RS has done his pit stops with everybody else. Julian from the RS, the Mobile One, a V8 driver, ahead of the man that put this whole race together, Luke Lekezi, ahead of the recovering Leighton Fourie. Well, I think that's pretty much done and dusted, because it's 10 seconds with only 2.5 minutes to go. Back to that man, the train driver, Tristan de Nobriga, just ahead of Byron Mitchell, just ahead of Willem Botha, just ahead of, up into 7th position, Francois Hubert, and staying ahead of Umpi Swart. Massive gap from there back to Chase Harold in the G drive.
Yeah, and then Peter Hubert that did his pit stop. He is in P10, 2.2 behind Chasey Harold. So he's back out again. But he's got Luke King that's just under a second behind him, followed there by Peter van der Spy and by Timothy Stanton. But Timothy is 4.6 behind van der Spy. But he has got Graham Stephen, Corne Breert, Robbie Teens, and Sandra Bakari for company. And they're fighting there for that 13th place on circuit.
Sure, how's that for a mid-pack battle? 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th. They are all up. See, look at that. That's how you do a four-wheel drift with a John Player Special and Olympus sponsored motor car. and you do a four-wheel drift and you get it all back together. Robbie Teagues having a look up on the inside of Sandro Bakari, just in front of that.
That was Corne Briet for Flying Gypsies Racing. That went very wide there. Sandro Bakari. And right behind him, Robbie Teagues and Corne Briet. The two of them were all over the back end of the man in P15, namely Bakari. And then JJ van der Merwe, only 1.5 seconds behind Corne Briet in that 18th position. He's just out of shot behind these three cars.
Yeah, what a lovely battle they've got there. So action aplenty all the way down. Having a look at the wide entry to the corner with the classic comeback onto the inside line. Can that one work? No, just not enough. He gets almost alongside, but it's the right-hander to come from there.
But Luc Leques's got trouble. It's called Leighton Fourie up front. There's only 7/10 of a second between the two of them. There is Leques, and where is Leighton? There's a back marker getting in their way there.
That was Eugene Minuk.
It was Eugene Minuk that was just in their way. He just kept right out the way. Could have turned into tears there. But yes, it is Leighton Fourie that is not far behind Leques, only 6/10 of a second.
Corne Briet on a passing maneuver and trying to get through. Oh, that was always going to happen. Can he get it back together? Yes, he does, but he will lose one position. And Corne Briet gets it back on track. There's just over 1 minute to go. Where do we find Julian Familiares out on circuit? The black number 1 with a green around it. That is, in fact, your lead vehicle. That is Julian Familiares. And Luc Leques, the man, as Frankie said, that put the series together in that second position with in close attendance. And, well, he would have, he's still having fun. He's still flashing his light saying, hey, old guy, here I are.
Yeah, it doesn't give a damn about the lighty that's in there behind him, that's for sure. He can flash lights as much as he likes. It doesn't mean a damn thing, because they're on the lead lap and fighting for track position, so it's not going to help him anything. He's not going to intimidate Luc Leques, that's for sure. A man that has got no problems, because he's 3.3 seconds ahead of that fight, is the man that sits out there in P1, and that is Julian Familiares. He did very well last weekend at Pekisa Freeway in the Mobile 1 V8 Supercars. I think he won one of the heats. I'm not sure where he ended overall, but in general didn't do too bad. There is De Nobrega in P4, and he's trying to keep off Byron Mitchell. There's 0.2 of a second between them. But the checkered flag is out, Gazza. We were watching that fight, and Familiares, Fourie and Leques are the first three cars across the line.
They came through just a little bit too quick for us. Oopsie.
Whoa, there's contact. There's contact at the checkered flag, and the cars are being spun around all over the place. Here comes Francois Botha. As a matter of fact, here comes Mitchell across the line, and he is just behind Umpi Swart.
A whole heap of chaos there right at the end. Don't know what that was all about. So we got caught slightly unawares. The first time in 3 years of production work that we miss out on the final swan song at the end of a race. There goes Chase Herald. There goes Luke King. Peter van der Spey comes through across the line. Timothy Stanton, the next man that comes through. Graham Stephen behind him. And then we'll have Sir Robbie Teagues. Close attendance with him is JJ van der Merwe, and then Corne Briet comes through as well.
Well, that car you saw in trouble earlier on at the checkered flag, that was Chase Herald. He does finish, but he finishes in that 10th position. He was a touch higher up. There's Raymond Duggan coming through. He's the last man on the lead lap, as a matter of fact. He's Duggan, and he is nearly 30 seconds behind Corne Briet, but the guys are having a bit of fun as he finishes in that 19th position for Rad Racing.
Sure. What can I say? Hectic stuff at the end of the day. So the top 12 will be in vert. Oh, Captain Peter van der Spey with the blindingly quick Luke King on the front row of the grid.
Yeah, then Chase Herald, Peter Hubert, Byron Mitchell, Yuri Swart, Francois Hubert, Willem Botha, Tristan de Nobrega, Luke Lucchese, and then Leighton Fourie, and the man that won it, Familiaris, will be in 12th position.
So Timothy Stanton misses out by 1 to start in pole position from Graham Stevens, Sandra Bakari, Robbie Teings, JJ van der Merwe, Corne Breed, Raymond Duggan, and Troy Dolenchik that had that accident right at the end that dropped him all the way down to 20th position.
Then Jason Coetzee, Herman Lazarus, Sway Schubert, Willem Pienaar, Eugene Manouk, Leonardo Bakari, Jonty Weiss, but I don't think we're going to see Jonty in this one. Who knows? Maybe we see him out there, but I doubt it.
Well,
no, he's not there.
He has not. He's not clicked in. We're still waiting for JJ van der Merwe and Jonty Weiss. He is not clicked in there either. That is the only two. You'll see there's that one spot on the grid that's been closed up. So here we go for another half an hour of action. Captain Pierre van der Spey that finds himself on the front row of the grid with Luke King having ended up 11th and 12th position. Peter Hubert from Chase Herald. Chase Herald will fancy it from here, and I think Peter van der Spey will fancy being nice and smooth and trying to hold out on all the big guns. Umpi Swart, having had that one situation, finds himself now around about 5th, 6th position. And I think from there he will fancy his chances to go and fetch whoever gets away at the front. Luke Lucchese is going to have a hard time from where he is.
Coming out that final corner, the safety car pulls into pit lane. The lights will go green and we will be underway. Green light, and it's Van der Spey that will lead them into turn number 1, followed there by Chase Herald. And he and Captain P.T.'s jostling for positions. Byron Mitchell runs on that rumble strip. He might lose a position there to Luke King, and he does. King, whoa, there's chaos. That is Peter Hubert that was up in the air. I saw the DHL car get slightly airborne.
Yep, there we go with, well, I tell you what, that's a pretty good one that they've got going there. A nice little tight battle that's going on in that pack of cars. Chase Herald leads them out. Can you put your money behind Chase Herald when he's leading? Not going to be easy to get past him. Look at Umpi Swart. Oh, Umpi Swart and Byron Mitchell side by side. Who's going to back out? Nobody. Nobody is going to back out. They come out of the corner, and it's Umpi Swart that gets the nudge, and it's Peter van der Spey that's in 5th.
Yeah, then behind Van der Spey is Willem Botha, but you can believe it, between Umpi and Byron, they're not going to give each other an inch, that's for sure. Then there's the Nobrega. You see the field come through. There is Luke Lucchese behind Graham Stephen. There's Jason Coetzee. He is just behind Timothy Stanton as the field worked their way around. I saw Dolenchik's car squirm around a bit. He sits there in that 13th position, and he is now just ahead of Coetzee, that's got his nose ahead there of Stanton. So these two are going to have to get a move on Troy and Jason, because they are completely out of sync from where they should be.
Well, there's the top runners as they work their way down the straight. Look at that. Everybody line astern. Chase Herald's got the bit between his teeth. 143.798, the fastest lap so far.
Right, so there's Graham Stevens sitting in that 12th position, and he's got Dolenchik and Coetzee right there behind him. As a matter of fact, he's got Stanton and a whole crew in there. Well, that's JJ van der Merwe. He started from pit lane, as a matter of fact, because I noticed that he was a pit lane starter. And also in that replay, you see he's got some trouble controlling that car. But the G-Drive car sitting out there in P1 of Chase Herald. Here comes Umpi up on the inside of Luke King. They are side by side. Will we have a new second place man? Not quite yet. They are still side by side. It is a King that sits on the outside. The line will belong to Umpi, and Umpi makes the move stick on him. And all of a sudden, Byron Mitchell says, "Hello, Luke, I'm right here with you." A 10th of a second.
Oh, you can't get any closer than that over the curbstone. When you're that close, how do you see where the curbstones are? You've got to really know your game. Having a look up on the inside, but he's intelligent enough not to stick it in a little bit too far and make contact and make the two of them spin around. First, second and third, fourth, nothing much in it. But remember, if we go a little bit further back, Francois Hubert is right there with Willem Botha as well.
Yeah, we'll put the track map up and you can see where all the other cars are out. If you want to at home look at one of your favorites, there is Leighton Fourie. He's going to make a move. Leighton's going to make a move on Captain Pete up on the inside. That's coming out the final corner, and he's got no answers. As a matter of fact, he might even lose out there to Familiaris as well, and to De Nobrega. He might even lose out to Lekezi as well, because here come the big guns.
Yep, they're working their way through. Luke Lekezi's in there as well. Who's going to go on the tight line? Knowing Luke Lekezi, he does that. Now he's got to decide which way does he go from here.
Well, Leighton was a touch wide in that group. You see him up front there, but there was no harm done. Peter van der Spy has got Familiaris, De Nobrega. Look at them all racked and stacked all the way down to Timothy Stanton in P15, all in there behind Leighton Fourie.
This is the part that gets difficult when you're right up behind somebody and you're going to try and ride the perfect lines. You can't see the curbstones all over the show. You've really got to know the circuit very, very well and have that sixth sense, as have all of these guys up front. Whoops, see, there we go. Captain Peter van der Spy is out of it. And I think that, yeah, it's Peter van der Spy that dropped down.
And
was the
other man
as
well.
I think it was Jason Kutsia that ended up going off track there as well.
Yeah, Troy Dolacek also dropping all the way down to that 16th position. So he was involved in that one. So it's all happening out there. Meantime, Luke Lekezi is all over the back end of Tristan De Nobrega. And Byron Mitchell, 7-10. So, sorry, he gets his nose ahead now of Luke King. Well, they were touch and go. And now Mitchell gets his nose ahead of King. But both he, King, and Umpi Swart are right on the case of our leader, Chase Harold.
Sure, brilliant stuff. Look at this. Everything you hoped for, wished for, and more. You can go further down the pack and look at that. Luke Lekezi all over the back of Tristan De Nobrega as well.
Yeah, then we've got Graham Stephen Julian trying to make a comeback. He was also involved in that situation together with Dolacek. He's in P11 and Troy is in P15 so far. But there's the man that sits out there in that 9th position. That is Lekezi, 0.3 of a second between himself and De Nobrega. And they are right there with Leighton Fourie, as a matter of fact. No, there's 2.5 seconds between Fourie and De Nobrega.
Wow, I tell you what, it's been brilliant stuff. Well, there was a major pile-up that has just happened. Let's see if we can pick that up. It was Pity Hubert. Was the first car, I believe, that was involved with that one. There's Pity Hubert. And, yep, he gets tipped from behind. And I do believe that was probably Corne Breet was the next one that actually arrived on the scene. And, yeah, he got it completely sideways coming in there. Then we saw Jason Kutsia had an incident as well, also going down onto the same section of circuit. There comes Jason Kutsia. Looks all fine and well up until there with the nationwide car. And unfortunately, with picking up the tail end of that incident, there was nowhere for him to go. Peter van der Spy working his way down towards that very same piece of track, having a look up on the inside of Hubert. And that was where that initial situation started. Going back to the front end of the field, remember we said Chase Harold? If he gets away, what's the chances? Well, what do we see in front of Chase Harold? Circuit.
Well, that situation early on, Peter Hubert actually turned in there on Peter van der Spy, and Peter had the line and he actually turned in on Peter and there was nowhere for him to go. So that clarifies that one. But yes, it's all happening here in that first 5 all the way down to P7 basically. That's where this fight is, because Chasey Harold with nearly 7.5 minutes done, is absorbing pressure from Yuri Swart, Byron Mitchell, Luke King. Not far behind them, only 1.7 is Botha, and on his case is Leighton Fourie and Francois Hubert. So it's a massive fight out there for the lead of Harold. There is Leighton. You see it's only 0.5 of a second between himself and Leighton Fourie in P6. Make it now 0.3 between himself and Willem Botha, the man that you see just there ahead of him. And then there's 1.8 seconds before Botha will see King that is ahead of him.
Well, let's see if we can get a bird's eye view of the whole pack. There it comes. Chase Herald with Umpi Swat. That's the first two you see coming through there. Then the white and blue, that's Byron Mitchell. Then it's Luke King. Then there's the gap. Then it's Willem Botha, Leighton Fourie, and going awesome out of your screen, that is Francois Joubert. Let's go across to Francois Joubert and right on board with Francois Joubert as he follows through on the man that almost won race number 1, Leighton Fourie.
Yeah, and he is only 4/10 of a second behind Leighton Fourie. Now, Tristan de Nobrega is beginning to launch a comeback. He was down in P11 at one stage. Remember, he was involved in that issue. And there we see Fourie put the move on Botha, side by side into that right hand. And he's not going to hold it for now. They're still side by side. He's going to definitely lose out there to Leighton Fourie. He might even lose out there to Francois Joubert if he didn't do that. He would have lost out there to Francois. But Francois in turn has lost out to Lucchese. And, he's dropping way down that leaderboard now because he's battling to get onto the circuit. He's completely out of it now. He's Francois Joubert.
Umpi Swat going one-on-one with Chase Herald, who has led right from the lights changing. This will be the first time. Oh, it doesn't get any closer than that.
Bumped him out the way.
Yeah, a little nudge. Rubbing is racing. That's when you start taking the paint off the wheel nuts.
I believe in GTI Challenge Class C on Saturday for the lead, we saw this going down the main straight. So we saw it the weekend. So now we're seeing it between Swart and Herald.
Oh.
And now it's Chase Herald's turn, sorry, to give Umpi a nudge. And while this is happening, Byron Mitchell and Luke King are saying, well, you guys continue with this, and then we'll just walk away with it.
Yeah, you can't get much closer than that. And he dives out on the last. And they're going to be side by side going into the corner. This is going to turn to tears. You cannot carry on doing this. There's just not enough space. And look who's coming to play, Byron Mitchell. Hello, Byron Mitchell. Look at this one. Oh, and coming through there as well, Leighton Fourie back in the party. And remember, Willem Botha is not that far behind.
Now, Luke King has actually come through there. That's why I said to you early on, Mitchell and Luke King will just say, you two guys keep on like this. And then we'll come through and take it away. And so Mitchell has come through, King has come through as well. And all of a sudden, Umpi finds himself in P4. But now Leighton Fourie is coming to play with as well. There's only just under a second between himself and Umpi just ahead of him.
Willem Botha and Luke Lucchese swapping positions again and again. 3 times the names off the circuit and back on again. 3 times it changed, and it is still going to be Luke Lucchese behind Willem Botha. There's nothing much that he can do at this stage of the fight. Willem is fighting back very strong. Julian Familiaris, Melbourne 1 V8 master driver, not that far. There you see him on the right hand side of your screen. He's busy working his way in there as well. Luke King's on the move. Luke King's on the move. Oh, Umpi and Luke King. There's nothing between them. And here comes Leighton.
Yeah, I said Leighton was only 0.8 of a second. Now he is right there as they are chopping and changing, and it is Umpi that goes up into P3. Leighton goes up to P4. Luke drops down to P5.
Oh, what a scrap they've got out there. And, well, there's battles further down the field as well. Let's have a look at some of those. There's Luke Lucchese. Luke Lucchese with Julian Familiaris just behind that. There's Julian. Now, what about Troy Dolenchik? We haven't seen anything this race of Troy Dolenchik. There, in fact, is Troy Dolenchik. He had an incident earlier on.
Yeah, he got himself up to P9 at one stage. I see he's down in P10, and that's because he was overtaken there by Familiaris. Troy in that Sujin Properties car. And but there's still a lovely fight for P6. De Nobrega leads Botha, Lucchese and Familiaris. There is Tristan De Nobrega for race driver SA Esports with a G-Drive signage on the side of that Honda of his. And there is Willem just behind him, and then just behind Willem Botha is Luke Lucchese, and right there with him, 0.5 of a second, is Julian Familiaris. Just behind that man, there's Julian chasing down Lucchese.
Keep an eye on that gap up front between Chase Herald and Byron Mitchell and Umpi Swart. That initially was the first man to go one-on-one with Chase Herald, get past, then drop down, and now finds himself in third.
Gary, stay on that shot. Have a look at the side of the helmet of Familiaris. It says there, Danke Seb, on the left-hand side of that helmet. That's saying thanks to Sebastian Vettel.
Wow, that's awesome stuff. Byron Mitchell very, very close. Oh, look at this. Here goes Byron Mitchell. He's going to have a look. He's going to have a look, but he's going to be on the wrong side of the track. Chase Herald, I think Chase Herald must be sweating even in a cold, wet Cape Town. Chase Herald sweating it out as he holds on to the lead. 13 minutes 52 of the 30 minutes. Chase Herald, and they're all over his back bumper.
Well, I tell you what, I don't want to give him a commentator's curse. We've only done 14 minutes, but if Chasey can pull this one off, then he has done very, very well. As a matter of fact, as I so speak, it's Mitchell that makes the move there on Chase Herald. The quickest man out there is in P9, 143.617. That is Dollarchek, so he's back up into that 9th position again. It's been a real fight out there for Dollarchek, and once again Chase Herald gets his nose ahead there of Byron Mitchell. Umpi Swart and Leighton Freer in the house as well. So is Luke King. 1.2 seconds is nothing. And it's all about that top 5 at this point.
Oh, there's the mistake. That's the one that Byron Mitchell was looking for. Chase Herald's got that look about him. It's win it or bin it. There's nothing else between it, but he's going to have to heed now, because on the inside line, oh, he gets a little bit of a tough there, and Chase Herald runs it wide. Umpi Swart runs up into that 2nd position. Looking back, where is Chase Herald? Oh, not that far behind. There's Chase Herald, and behind that is Leighton Ferree. Oh, what a brilliant race this has turned out to be. Look at that.
Yeah,
wow.
You got to feel sorry for Chasey there. He was assisted out the way there by Byron Mitchell.
Is that your word for the day?
Assisted, yes.
Ja, jy's nie geklap nie, jy's nie geslaan nie. You are assisted,
he was assisted out
of the way.
But it's no I'm done, because that first 4 are right in there as well, and so is Luke King for that matter, so make it the first 5. So there's no harm done. Chase can come back from this one. As we ride aboard Leighton Ferree, he sits there in P4. The car ahead of him is, of course, Chase Herald. There you see Chase Herald's car, and just ahead of him is Yuri Swart, and then the leader is Byron Mitchell. That's those first 4 cars. The Nobriger sits in P6, but there's 2 seconds between himself and King. But Luke Lucchese and Willem Botha in P7 and 8, and that's just changed now, because Lucchese has gone to 7, and Dollarchek has also got his nose ahead of Botha there, as a matter of fact, and so that fight is not done for that 6th position yet.
Yeah, Troy Dollarchek did manage to make the passing maneuver. Let's see what happened there. Oh, that's why. That's why he got past. So that explains that one. And Francois Joubert, one of the big hitters that has gone, one of the first people that has actually gone into the pits and out. In fact, let's have a look at that pits. Who's been in, who's been out. I think he will probably be the lead car. No, Julian Familiaris is the lead car that's been in and out. So keep an eye on that one, and we'll see exactly how that plays itself out. So back to the front end of the field, Byron Mitchell that leads them out.
Yeah, it's all happening out there for sure. But now, Byron Mitchell, Umpi Swart, Chase Herald, Leighton Ferree. That's those first 4 cars. There's 1.5 seconds before we see Luke King out there in a P5. And 1.7 behind them is Tristan de Nobriger, who's been hassled here by Luke Lucchese. There's 0.7 of a second between them for race driver SA and Pantera Racing. Then it is a recovering Troy Dollarchek that sits in P8. There's 1.6 seconds between himself and Lucchese, and then Willem Botha is in there, nearly 2.5 seconds behind, or now it is 2.5 seconds, is Botha behind Dollarchek for race driver SA and Esports. Then we've got Graham Stephen. He's nearly 6 seconds behind Willem Botha, and he rounds off the top 10 just ahead there of Raymond Duggan. And Duggan's got Jason Coetzee in there behind him, 0.3 of a second.
very, very close. And then, there's Jason Kutsia. Sandra Bakari a long way further back from that. Timothy Stanton had an off just now, but he's trying to fight his way back. There is Timothy Stanton in the Roland Manifolds car. He's in behind Julian Familiaris. That's a long, long way down. It's not where we're accustomed to seeing Julian Familiaris. But let's ride on board with Leighton Fourie. And, well, he's got a lovely view in front of him, although I'm sure he would prefer not to see those cars in front of him.
No, Julian had issues earlier on. He was involved in that accident, and that pushed him all the way down that leaderboard. That's why you find him there in P16. But we ride aboard with the man that sits there in 4th position, Leighton Fourie. 3/10 of a second behind Chase Herald, who had that lead for quite some time, but is only 4/10 of a second behind Byron Mitchell, who's 6/10 of a second behind Yuri Swart Jr. And has the other gone past him? Yes, Mitchell has lost out, and then Mitchell goes back, and then it's chopping and changing now because Mitchell is in pit lane.
It was Byron Mitchell.
Is in pit lane.
Yep, that is why. That's where the difference came in. And there you can see he went into the pit lane. So Byron Mitchell finds himself there in the pit lane. And, well, he's then the second of the big hitters that have ended up going into the pits. So Umpi Swart leading out. Well, Umpi hasn't been able to win the first race so far. And I think he fancies himself for this one. He's got a bit of a gap now between himself and Leighton Fourie. Looking back from him, there you can see Leighton Fourie and Chase Herald that was there and thereabouts all along. He finds himself in 3rd, but all over the back of Leighton Fourie.
Yeah, he's chasing down Leighton Fourie, 7/10 of a second between them. All of a sudden, Luke King's lost a little bit of ground. He's nearly 1.7 behind Chase Herald. But Tristan de Nobrega in that 5th position, 1.4 behind Luke King. Let's keep an eye on that one. There is Dolacek in 7th place. Now, Troy Dolacek is right on the case of Luke Lucchesi, who's on the case of Dolacek. So, on the case of de Nobrega, sorry. So, that's a fight out there for 5, 6, and 7.
See, Graham Stevens just dropped down some position. And I think Graham Stevens actually went off track, and that was what caused that change in positions. Yep, he comes in just a little bit too hard, gets himself onto the outside of the circuit. Rather play safe and make sure that he doesn't lose any more ground. So Graham Stevens a long way further back than where he would like to be. Swayze Hubert had a bit of an incident as well. Oh, he had more than a bit of an incident. He had a massive off, did Swayze Hubert. And then Corne Bretas, he's had an incident as well in the John Player Special and Olympus car. That looked all fine. Yeah, that's where he gets it slightly out of sync. It's the second time we'd seen him do a little slide like that. It's all happening in the pits. Luke King is in the pits. Chase Herald is in the pits. Luke Lucchesi is in the pits. Troy Dolenchik is in the pits. Let's see who's going to be the first of the frequent flyers to get out of the pit lane. I think it's going to be Luke King. Luke King's going to be the first of the guys coming out. Now it's going to start getting interesting from here on out.
Yeah, the guys are now beginning to make the pit stops with nearly 22 minutes done. But that first 5 cars, or should I say first 7, I was more focused on the top 5. But yes, the first 7 has not made pit stops yet. But there's a bit of gaps beginning to open up now between them. There's 1.2 between Swart and Fourie. There's Byron Mitchell in P8. He's 1.1 ahead there of Sandra Bakari, but he's nearly 9 seconds behind Raymond Duggan. Is Byron Mitchell. There is Sandra Bakari in P9, but Chase Herald and Luke King are right there with him. But keep in mind that those two, as a matter of fact, together with Dolacek and Familiaris, they have made their pit stops already. So Sandra Bakari is going to come under attack from those drivers pretty soon.
So who has been in the pits already? Oh, look, here we go. Here we go. Umpi Swart is in. And, well, let's see if we can...
And Leighton Fourie as well.
Yep,
and de Nobrega.
And the Nobrega, there comes the Nobrega into the pits. What about Willem Botha? Oh, Willem Botha came in too loud and too hard. What about Jason Coetzee? Jason Coetzee follows them through. Graham Stephen, he follows them through as well. What about Raymond Duggan? Raymond Duggan's in there. Byron Mitchell.
Surely he must have dived. No, he's not. He's going through.
But
he's had a pit stop already.
Correct.
He's done the pit stop.
Can he make it out in front of Oompie Swart? There's Oompie Swart coming out of the pits. And will he take the lead? It looks like it.
Yeah.
It looks like it. Oompie Swart goes back into the lead. 7 minutes to go. Oompie Swart from Leighton Fourie. There you see, there's Leighton. And Byron Mitchell. He's been in the game all day long.
Yeah, that pit stop just rocket shipped him up that leaderboard into that third position, 5 seconds ahead of Luke King. And that is the top 3 that you see on your screen there now. And they are busy racing down to the hairpin. That is the lowest part of the Nürburgring. From there they start working their way back up again as they work their way now into the hairpin. That is Luke King. You see there, he's 4.8 behind the leading trio that's busy working their way out of the hairpin and back up to the top of the track again. There is a Dollarcheck in that 5th position. Right behind him is Familiaris. That's the 2 of them there. That's what 0.5 of a second looks like. And both of them are on the back end of Luke King. That's in that 4th place.
Yep, and then the next man that's going to arrive on screen is Chase Herald. Chase Herald just ahead of the train driver, Tristan Nobrega. Well, he's had no coaches today. He's had open space behind him. And he's been one of the pace setters out there today, Tristan de Nobrega.
Yeah, for race driver SA Esports, he sits there in P8, but the gaps are pretty big. All the way down to 16th position, which is Timothy Stanton. Jason Coetzee sitting there in P10. He's 4.7 behind Willem Botha. Botha only 0.7 of a second behind de Nobrega. And Dollarcheck, the quickest man out there, 143.542. There is Graham Stephen busy working his way through, and he's 3.1 seconds ahead of Raymond Duggan in the 071 car for Rad Racing is Raymond Duggan. Now, Dollarcheck, is he going to move up on the inside? Yes, he does, and no, he doesn't, because King holds on to that position, and here comes Familiaris. So they are fighting for 4, 5 and 6 out on circuit.
Oh, there's just so much good talent out there. It's amazing stuff. And it's nice to see the level, Frankie, of respect that there is at the front end of the field today.
Yeah, Julian sitting out there in P6. That's the hairpin. As I said, the lowest part of the Nürburgring. This is the Grand Prix circuit. Now it's all uphill from here until the top of the circuit. Where they're going through now is also known as the Schumacher S's, as Familiaris and them busy working their way through. And now there's a look up. There's a look up, and Dollarcheck is having a go at Luke King, and there's contact between Dollarcheck and King is sent packing.
Yeah, that's a pity for Luke King. It was all going so well up until then, and he did nothing wrong, and the 24 car off onto the infield, and by the time he recovers that one, you can see there's just no grip on that grass, and he eventually recovers the circuit. So we're 26.5 minutes into it. Let's work our way from the top end of the field, as it looks like Troy Dolenchik's just put up the fastest lap time overall. But let's have a little bit of a close-up at what's happening as we work our way through the field. Oompie Swart from Leighton Fourie. That's a battle that's going to go all the way to the line. Then Byron Mitchell, he's been having a good day, a good time all day long. There's Troy Dolenchik with Julian Familiaris right in there behind him. Chase Herald, that started in pole position, not that far behind, but I think he's going to be outside of the top 5 for this one. Tristan de Nobrega is the man that's in there just behind him in a very similar liveried motor car.
Yeah, they're both G Drive, but Tristan for race driver SA Esports. So 27.5 minutes done in this 29 lap race. We're on lap 16. So there is, well, that's including the lap we're on is lap 16. There's Luke King. Well, yeah, the contact that was made had dropped him all the way down to 9th position, just ahead of Jason Coetzee, 1.8 between King and Coetzee there for Durant Motorsport. And Jason rounds off the top 10. Then Francois Hubert is in 11th position, but he's nearly 3.4 seconds behind Jason Coetzee, followed by Graham Stephen in P12.
Raymond Duggan, and then there comes Captain Peter van der Spey as well. So two battles going on up front as we go into the dying moments of this race. We're on 28.5 minutes. Leighton Fourie all over the back end of the lead man, Oompie Swart, and then the other guy that's having a good go to try and make up one more position. Yeah, they come out into the front straight, and that's Julian Familiares on the back end of the karting ace, Troy Dolenchik.
Yeah, that is for P4 and 5, fighting it out there for that 4th position on track, going into turn number 1. So if we're going to do 29 minutes, then that means that this should then be the final lap for race leader Oompie Swart, and for Leighton Fourie, and for Byron Mitchell and the rest of the field. There's Lazarus just getting out the way from Swart and Fourie.
The white flag doesn't show on the screen yet, so I would tend to think that they will come through, get the white flag. I've never seen them jump the white flag at all. It normally comes out, and well, it's almost 2 minutes a lap, so quite possible that we will get, next time they come around, will be for the last lap. Is there still a chance for Leighton Fourie on Oompie Swart? Hell yeah. Is there still a chance for Julian on Troy Dolenchik? Yes. Is there a chance for Chase Herald for a top 5, having started in pole position? Yes, and that's all because of what might happen in front of him. Here comes Julian.
Yeah, Familiaris wants to get his nose ahead there of Dolenchik. There's 0.3 of a second between them as our two leaders work their way right onto the top of the track. That is Oompie and Leighton as they work their way out. Now the checkered flag is out, I thought, because the 29 minutes is done a long time ago. So the checkered flag comes out, and Yuri Swart comes home in P1, 0.3 of a second ahead of second place man Leighton Fourie, followed there by Dolenchik, 1.7 seconds behind Fourie.
Yep, there comes Julian from the Horace, and the next one will be Chase Herald, the similar livery, Tristan de Nobrega from Willem Botha, from it's Luke King. Behind that, Jason Coetzee finding himself in the top 10 in that one, Francois Hubert, and then here comes Graham Stephen.
Yeah, Graham Stephen, he's got Raymond Duggan right there behind him at the checkered flag. P14, 8.2 seconds behind Duggan will be Peter van der Spey with the louder sponsorship on the side of that Honda of his. He'll finish in 14th, 4.6 seconds ahead of 15th place man Sandro Bakari.
Yep, oh, Luke Lakisi, 16th, long way down for Luke Lakisi, ahead of Timothy Stanton, just ahead of Peter Hubert, and then the next man to come through will be Robbie Teings, but he's 22 seconds further back, so not a great day for Robbie, but he was always in traffic, so I think he had lots of fun out there.
Yeah, Robbie Teings is in that 19th position. He crosses the line now, and the final man on the lead lap in P20 working his way towards a checkered flag is JJ van der Merwe.
Sure. What can we say, Frankie? Was that awesome? Was that awesome? Or was that awesome?
All I can say is, Luke Lucchesi, more of this, please.
Yes. Oh, hell yes, there is no doubt about it. I do believe that this is going to be a winner. There's no doubt about it. So for the feature race, that is the one you've just watched now, following through with Durant Motorsport, the Umpini car. That is Oompie Swart, as we see the boys having a little bit of chaos there in the background. Let's hope we can get away from that. Maybe we can get to a little bit of a blimp shot. That looks a bit better, while the boys have some fun. So, Durant Motorsport, Umpini Motors, Oompie Swart, and he gave his father a lovely birthday present on Saturday with Ford and Friends, and Oompie Swart wins out there from ex-Polar Cup champion Leighton Fourie, with Byron Mitchell ahead of Troy Dolenchik.
Yeah, the guys are having a bit of fun out there, but they don't realize that the stream is still going, and that's not exactly what people want to see. But, yeah, at the end of the day, this one wasn't for points. This one wasn't for a championship. This was just a fun one that was put together by Luke Lucchesi. And this is why I said we need more of this, together with the GT3 and the Porsche Cup and the iRacing Masters and the Clio Cup. I think what Luke put together here tonight started off as fun. I think it could have a future. I'm hoping so.
Oh, yes. Well, if you look at that, Julian, Leighton, Luke, Tristan, and Willem, it's a completely different look that you have at the front. Talking about Luke Lucchesi, third, and then I think he came in 16th, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 16th in the second one. Umpi Swart, Leighton, Byron, Troy, Julian. Oh, it's all big names. Chase Herald, I think, will be a little bit disappointed. He did start in pole position. He did hold sway up front very well initially. But yeah, it was just a little bit too stiff at the front end of the field. Frankie, Honda HTPs from Nuremberg a fun event. A half hour of practice, 10 minutes of quali, two 30-minute races with high downforce, one pit stop in each race. A brilliant result in terms of the guys enjoying themselves and us enjoying commentating on it, and you, the folks at home, certainly watching as well.
Yeah, so where are we now? We are in June, and I'm trying to figure out, Gaza, what is up next weekend.
Next week, Wednesday, GT3s.
GT3, yes.
The week after that, the Pro-Am Series, the Porsche Cup.
Yeah.
And then we'll start season number 9 of Sports and GT Masters.
Well,
that
there you go.
is subject to confirmation. Having seen what's happened here, it's going to be up to Luke Lucchesi to determine, does he continue a same or similar like this, or do we hold the Masters season number 9 and then add these fun races in between? I would like to see the Masters continue. We had 24 paid up guys last season, averaging between 17 and 18 per race, and that is where the older guys can sit back, relax, and have lots of respect between one another and really have some fun. And then they get the opportunity to climb in here amongst the young guns as well.
Yeah, and I don't want to see the demise of the Masters. That must stay. But if between the Masters and GT3 and Porsche Cup, if Luke can put together some more of this, I think we're heading in the right direction. Well, I'm hinting big time. That's not for me to decide. Folks, go well. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll see you back here same time, same place next week, Wednesday. Go well, everybody.
Excuse the pun. I look, I like, I see.
Yep.
Good night, everybody.